So the rain finally cleared and I was able to get out here and work on this thing. I finally got the front brake lines on, or brake hoses, and we got the new master cylinder on, and I'm going to bleed the brakes up. Got to get a little assistance for that. I already bench bled the master cylinder, and like I said, we got the new brake lines on. Had to do a little cutting to get that bolt off that holds this bracket on there and put a new bolt, but that was okay. So here's the old master cylinder. It was stuck. The piston won't move, so the brake pedal wouldn't even smush down. So now get the brakes bled up and get this thing, probably try and get it inside the garage, but it's so tall it's gonna hit my garage door, so I'm gonna have to probably figure out how I can take that antenna off that's up there somehow. Probably have to put the tires really low on air to get it to clear my door, because in the front part of my garage the ceiling is very low, especially the doorway. But in the back part of my garage I got some clearance, and I get past this ceiling, past the lights, and up in here the ceiling's taller, so hopefully I can get it in here and then we'll get ready to pull that transmission out. I really don't want to do it in the driveway. I'd rather do it in here where I got some air conditioning and stuff, and I don't have to be walking back and forth. And then if it rains again, it'll be inside and I can stay to keep working to get that transmission out and get that freeze plug installed, or freeze plugs, whatever is behind that flywheel up on the block. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and get these brakes bled, and it's about getting ready to get dark. I don't know if I'm gonna try and move this thing in today or this evening rather, but probably give it another day and then I'll try and get it inside so we can get this transmission removed. Alright, let me get back to work on getting brakes on this thing. Alright, so now we have the van inside the shop, and it's time to pull that transmission and get that freeze plug replaced behind the flywheel. Been a little bit under the weather here lately. We had some real hot temperatures come through, and me getting in and out of vehicles with air conditioning on really struck up a head cold. But coming back around, so these things are basically, I mean, they're real simple to work on these vans, because you can get to the top bell housing bolts. You can get to all of them really pretty easy, especially from the top. Looks like that oil pressure sensor is leaking. It is leaking, because I completely cleaned off the top of this engine and transmission. So I guess we'll have to replace that. I think I got one. But yeah, so I'm gonna go in there and hook the drive shaft. I'm not gonna pull this transmission completely out. I'm just gonna set it on a jack, lower it, and scoot it back enough where I can get to the flywheel. If it looks like the pump seal is leaking, I'll go ahead and pull away from up under there and replace it. Or I might do it while it's up under the van. But if it looks dry behind the torque converter, which I really don't want to pull the torque converter out, because sometimes that's what make them start leaking. But if I see anything, I'll replace that seal. But mainly we need to get this freeze plug fixed because I can't run it very long and it won't hold any coolant. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on hooking the bell housing bolts and drive shaft. I gotta drop the starter. I mean, if you're a mechanic, you basically know about these rear wheel drives that you have to remove the transmission, you know, what parts, bell housing bolts, torque converter bolts, drive shaft, gear shift linkage, starter. I don't think the exhaust is going to be in the way. So I think it's just pretty much plain and simple on find creepers around somewhere. Oh. Pretty much plain and simple on how to pull these things and replace them on these vans. Like I said, they're pretty easy to do. As long as you don't have the exhaust in the way. I don't know if I'm gonna have to jack it up some. There's your linkage right here. And oh yeah, the cross member. You gotta undo this cross member. It's 2 bolts and 2 bolts in the transmission mount. Still got some good exhaust up under it. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead, start unhooking some stuff. I might have the camera under here. It's kind of tight, but if I don't do any footage on actually getting the transmission unbolted, I'll show you the freeze plug when I get it out or get to it, because it's kind of hard working on these on the ground with a camera, knock it over, and you gotta be constantly moving it. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start on it and get this thing out of here. So just bear with me and show you what I got. Well, I got the gear shifter linkage undone. We got the torque converter bolts out. I'm probably going to have to drop this exhaust because I don't think I'm going to be able to get the transmission up high enough for the torque converter to clear this cross pipe here. You can see I'm going to have to really jack it up high to get over that. But look like the exhaust bolts are pretty much easy to get to. They don't look that rusty, so I think they'll come right off on both sides. Dripping antifreeze from that freeze plug everywhere. So I'm thinking I can get to these bolts pretty easy and be able to let this exhaust lower down, so I won't have to struggle with trying to get the transmission over this cross pipe. And we got the drive shaft. Drive shaft's hanging down. We gotta get the speedometer cable, which is not a big deal. It might be, some of them are hand tight. Nope. Get the speedometer cable unhooked. The vacuum module for the transmission. It's got a metal tube that goes all the way up there. Probably gonna replace that hose anyway because it looks like it's been on there for a long time. I don't think this transmission's ever been out. The bolts are super tight, like from factory. And then we gotta remove that transmission stick that runs all the way from the transmission all the way to up here. So it's a bolt right here on top of the alternator bracket. I already got the one loose on the bell house. So get ready to stick something in that hole when I pull the dipstick out. But anyway, you see this, it runs from up there all the way down. That's a long dipstick. And there's the vacuum module too. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to work on it and get some more stuff loose. Okay, so I got the transmission pushed back out of the way and had a little mishap. While I was pushing the transmission back, the torque converter stuck into the crankshaft and had transmission fluid pouring everywhere. So that lets me know that this transmission's never been out of this van. You can see it's got the factory blue on the flywheel, which matches the inside of the block, which matches the transmission and the torque converter. And the torque converter had seized inside of the crankshaft right here. So as soon as I pull the transmission back, I thought it was coming with the transmission, and I looked up there and then a glob of fluid started pouring out. So now we're going to take the flywheel off, get to this freeze plug. Had to end up dropping the exhaust, which I figured I was going to have to. Wasn't too bad. I soaked all the screws, nuts down on the manifolds with PV blaster. Let them sit on there. Let it sit on there for a while. And then they zip right off. So the exhaust is just hanging up under here. So I wasn't going to change the front pump seal on the transmission, but now that the torque converter has slid out of there, I'm going to have to go ahead and change it because I don't trust it, because I had it on an angle and it might have warped that seal on the inside. Okay, enough of that. Let's pull this flywheel off here. Or flex plate, as some people call it. Which one is it? Look like it's that one right there. They actually look pretty good, but I'm thinking it's the one to the right. I can't. Oh, I'm sorry, I hit the camera there. Kind of hard getting up under here with it. Looks like it's coming from this one, because I see it wet. It's got to be this one. Yeah, it's got a hole right at the very bottom of it. See, can I get a light? Show you guys. It's tight up under here. Oh, 1 second. Oh. So I guess I'm gonna change out both of them. You can smart thing to do. At first I was like, I don't even see a hole. It's gonna be hard for me to see too. It's so far up there. I wonder if I go inside. If I go inside the van, we can see it. Probably easier. Because we'll be right at it. Very patient with me here. See that hole right there? It's right at the bottom of the freeze plug. It's kind of still hard to... Now you can see it. It's wet right there. So it's... Ah, there it is. It's got a hole rusted right there. Look at that. So this one in the middle is for the camshaft. You don't have to worry about that one because that where the oil is running through your camshaft bearings. So you don't have to worry about replacing that one. But these two on the outer is where your water jackets is. So this one here is definitely rotted out, and I suspect if I don't change that one, it's gonna do the same thing. And I'm not pulling this transmission back out. It don't look rusted out, but sometimes you go to pull them out and they'll fall apart. I can see some discoloration like this side here. That one's got a nice size hole in it. So there's our problem right there. So I get some more freeze plugs and get them popped in, and get a torque converter front pump seal for the transmission, and get the transmission back in there. I really hate to pull it out, but you gotta do it. So there's the transmission just kind of hanging out on the transmission jack. And there's the front seal there. It looks like the factory front seal. Well, I'll get it popped out of there. I'm not going to take the transmission away from the front of here because I have to get it off this block that's sitting on top of the transmission jack, and it'll be real hard to pick it back up because I needed the height. That jack only goes up so high, and the pipes that's hanging down, I needed that clearance with that block on there. So anyway, we get some parts and get those freeze plugs out of there, and you probably can get it from the top. It'll be easier than laying on your back. I'll just go up top and pop them out and pop them back in there. We'll be good. So I had these brass freeze plugs left over from the 4.3 engine that we put in the boat. You see it says General Motors with brass water jacket plugs, 4.3 liter V6, and these are 1 5/8", which is the same thing that's in that engine. All GM, I think, carried the same. It's best to go back with brass. You can see the only one that's metal is for the camshaft, but brass, they won't never rust out, corrode or anything unless you're running some real bad antifreeze. It might corrode, but it won't get a hole in it. And so that's actually where I got the other one from that we put on the driver's side behind the manifold. So we got two right here, exactly the same. These are just your little drain plugs that go inside the block. And these little ones here, I believe is for the head. I think those go into the head, and that might go into the head somewhere, those little caps. But so there's the part number, PE-185-B. Like I said, it works on V8, V6. So made by Pioneer. So don't have to spend any money on these, because we already got them. Just got to get a front torque converter pump seal and probably about 3/4 quarts of fluid, and it should be good to go. Well, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I just had an antifreeze bath. I knocked that freeze plug out, and I got probably half a gallon of antifreeze came out and went everywhere. So I'm completely soaked. So we got this new brass one in on that side. Now I'm gonna put the new one in on that side. I always put silicone around them. Some good Permatex silicone. I like using the gray because it hardens up really hard, especially when heat hits it. But you want to make sure you clean off all the grease and antifreeze before you use it. Make sure it's real clean and everything, and then you can put your freeze plug in. So let me get the new one and coat it with some sealant. That one was kind of tough to get out of there. It wasn't rusted out like the other one. Also, the sealant makes it slide in the hole a little better, a little easier than just bare brass against metal. Just kind of messy, get it all over the place. Like I just did. Alright, let's see, can we get this side in? Everything under here is covered with antifreeze. Getting it started in the hole is the problem. It's got like a nick right there. There's a nick on the block, look like. I can feel it. I don't know if I did that with the pliers. Let me see, can I get a file and file that off a little bit? You want that hole to be smooth. Like a small. don't know if that's rust or, I think it was rust. Yeah, because it's smooth now. Alright. I can tell the difference because it didn't want to sit flush in there. Alright. This side might be a little bit easier. Oh yeah. This side was a hell of a lot easier because on the other side the pipe was in the way and I had to go up on an angle. But it's in there. That one's in there, so good to go. So now I just got to put the front seal in the transmission. Also I got to put the flywheel back up there, I guess. By the time I get it together, that sealing will be dry. Ain't no sense to sit there and look at them, cover them up, put it back together. I'll probably take some brake cleaner and spray everything down. So you want to go ahead and get the flywheel back up on there. Wrong socket. Where's the socket? Oh, there it is. It's a 17 millimeter. Alright, flywheel's back on. Get that job out of the way anyway. So like I was saying, I went and picked up a new seal. Spun around here. Ow. That's the new transmission seal. I looked through my box of seals and I found one that was almost like it, but I wasn't for sure. Reason why, because of the depth. You can see that one's almost flush with the outer race of the seal, and this one, it sits in there flush almost. I was scared to use it because I don't know if that might rub the back of the torque converter, but it's the same diameter on the front and the back, even inside, but this is the one it calls for. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. Here's the part number. (6712NA). So we're gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go ahead and slam it in the transmission, and we get that transmission back up there. Alright, so I always take a little transmission fluid and just put it in the middle of the seal, and I'll put some on the shaft of the torque converter so it won't go together dry. Now this is the fun part, because these things can be a job to get in there without tearing it up on the outside. Just got to be gentle with it, especially laying on the ground. Come on, man. Had a deep enough socket, but the end of that shaft is so long. Just kind of get it there and whack it one good time. Oh, I thought I had it. There we go. Just kind of stick it. I have messed some up in the past. You warp it, you warp the inside of it, and if you hit on the inside of it where the torque converter goes, you can warp that seal. Be kind of smushed a little bit, but there we go right there. So now we can put the torque converter in, which is another drastic part, because it weighs a ton. And it's still full of fluid. Make sure there's no nicks. Anything. You don't want it to wear that seal out. Alright, here goes nothing. Oh man, this thing is heavy. I hope it don't fall off the jack. Shouldn't. I don't know, she's kind of topsy-turvy. Ooh. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I got the strap. It's gonna make it more harder for me to roll it up here though. It's sitting in that oil dry, and it's hard to roll. There we go. It's even gonna be harder to roll once I put the torque converter in there because it's heavy. But okay, here we go. Let's see how can I get in position. Hope I don't knock the camera down. Oh man, this is gonna suck. Make sure it ain't no rust in it. You're like, hurry up and do it. Just don't know how heavy this thing is. And I took it down off the back of the motor. Oh my God. Oh, I can't hold it. I can't hold it. Oh man. I hope this transmission don't fall. She's tilted pretty far. This is not gonna work, you guys. Because the transmission's wanting to fall over. There she goes. Look at that. Turn it. There. Woo! Woo! That is not fun. Not fun at all. Feel my pain. That transmission's leaning pretty hard. I have to hurry up and slide it back up there because she's leaning on that jack pretty hard, and I don't want that torque converter to slide out of there. So I'm gonna have to shut you guys down for a minute because I'm gonna need all the space I can get. Alright, so I got the transmission back up there. Got some bell housing bolts just started in there. Got the cross member back on. And that's gonna be it for tonight. So I'll come back tomorrow if I feel like it, and go ahead and start hooking everything back up: the starter, the exhaust, transmission dipstick, transmission cooler lines, shift module, vacuum line, and put the drive shaft in it, and she'll be ready to fire it up. I still got to put a water pump on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up anyway. I want to drive this thing and see how well the transmission shifts. I mean, I know nothing about it. I know it moves, and because to do the water pump, you got to completely disassemble the front, as far as the radiator shroud, and because it is super tight down in there. So I know the shroud's got to come off, and belts, and alternator, probably power steering pump. I can't even see in there. It's sitting on jack stands. But anyway, it's gonna be a nightmare. But I want to drive this thing first and see how the transmission shifts out and everything. And transmission shifts out good, we'll move on with the water pump. The water pump is just dripping out of the little weep hole. So I mean, it's not nothing major like the freeze plugs was. So we should be able to put some coolant in it or some water. I really rather put coolant in it. I really hate to waste coolant. We still got something in the block, I think. We'll put something in it and just mosey around the block and see how good that transmission shifts. And like I say, we'll move on with the water pump and start doing some cosmetic work on it. Try to clean it up a little bit, even though one side looks like it was in a forest fire. But we'll see what we can do with this old girl. Okay, so now I got the transmission all back in, everything's all tightened up, drive shaft, transmission lines, all that's good. So now it's time to put the water pump on. I wanted to run it before I did the water pump, but I know it's leaking out of the little weep hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip it off of there and replace it. I already pulled the fan off and the fan shroud. And I'm probably gonna go ahead and source out the fuel lines. This thing's got 2 gas tanks on it. It's got one that runs along the side of the van up on the bottom, and it's got one at the very back. So it's got an actual switch in there, I think, that controls which tank you want to run. So I don't know if that even still works. I don't know what's in the gas tanks. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the water pump first, which got a brand new one. So, supposed to be the one that fitted. We got like 101 degree temperature outside. It is hot. So perfect time to work on this thing while it's too hot outside. And try and get it where we can take it for a first actual drive. So you see the water pump. This is the regular old GM water pump. Some of them were different. I can't even get it out the bag. Yeah, we can sit it right here. Some of them were different. They had like a pipe that came out of here where this plug is. Some of them had a nipple that screwed in there for the heater hose or return line, I think from the radiator. So we'll put some thread sealant on that because we don't need it. But you see that one's blocked off. So one of these belts is about to break, the water pump belt right there. It is on the edge of breaking. It's got a big chunk missing. So I might have one in my belt stash. And I think the power steering belt, I need to tighten it up. It's loose. Got a good compressor belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started getting this thing off, and we'll get the new one on. So got everything off. I had to end up taking off the air conditioner compressor tensioner, the top alternator bracket. I had to end up removing the whole alternator. That bottom radiator hose is pretty crusty. I feel like it had some rust on the inside of it. I got it loose, but I can't get it to slide off. And so what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and take the 4 bolts off the water pump and just take the water pump off and then twist it off of there. It's rusted to the water pump and won't slide off, but you can see it's antifreeze dripping from there where I had antifreeze in it in the first place. So sorry about all the background noise. I got both air conditioners on in the garage. and a fan, and so I'll try and speak loud enough where you can hear me. But it's just so hot, you know. So let's see if all these bolts are basically rusted onto stuff. So I'm having to get the impact out to get it loose. So I'm gonna get the impact gun and see if we can get that loose. That stuff is rusty. I believe this is no water pump because it's got the GM part number on it. I don't think it's ever been off. Build up. Once you get everything out of the way, it's quite easy to work on. So tight. Hard to get the camera down in there and record. I've already knocked the camera down one time. Thought I broke it. That would suck. That was super tight. Air ain't built all the way up yet. Man, that one is tight. I have to let the air build up before I can get that last bolt out of there. So I'll let the air build up and get it off. Okay, I think the air built up good enough to get this last bolt out. Ooh, I hope that didn't break. That did not sound good. Oh. Drum roll, please. It broke off. Broke off in the block. Oh, hell. Hopefully it's enough sticking out that I can heat it up and clamp onto it with some vice grips. Oh man, it broke off smooth. Well, that went the quick water pump job, folks. Look at the rusty water. There's the original water pump look like. Still got the GM part number on it. I don't know if you can see it, but I gotta get that broken boat out now. Rusted right through the block. Didn't even try to budge. She's broke off. So I'm gonna have to try and heat it up. I might can heat it up and get some vice grips on it and be able to screw it out of there. Take my little MAP gas acetylene bottle and heat it up. And but I think I'm out, so I'm gonna have to go get some. So I knew something was gonna break because everything is just so rusty. But look at the rusty water that came out. So they were definitely running water in this thing, and it's set up, and that's what rusted out the freeze plugs. So anyway, let me get some tools together and see can I get that out. What I'm gonna do is try and heat it up. It's a little sticking out. I might be able to get the vice grips on it. If not, I'm gonna have to either weld a nut on it, try and get it out that way, or I'm gonna have to drill it and put an easy out in it. I might be able to get it hot enough where I can clamp onto it and get it to turn. I hate that happened. I knew it was going to happen there. It started turning and then it stopped. But like I said, this water pump's never been off of here. I don't think running water in it affected it because that hole is enclosed. I think one of them's enclosed and one of them's not, because I know sometimes you can pull the bolts out and you get antifreeze coming out of the bolt hole. Maybe this is one of the ones that's not enclosed that rusted out. Let me get it real hot. So this was all the tools required to get out that broken bolt. So what I ended up doing is just drilling out the bolt. I tried to weld a nut on there, it didn't work. I tried to put an easy out in there, it didn't work. So I just drilled it out, and I got a tap, the same thread as the bolt that came out of it, and I'm gonna try and re-tap it and make some new threads. And this bolt right here, it's the same threads as a newer bolt, same thread, so it should work. But that bolt was actually rusted in the block on the inside of the port where the water pump, where the water goes through, and it would not come out of there. I tried to heat it up, and I didn't want to break off a easy out in it, so I just got some real good drill bits. And now the only thing I'm doing, I got got out some real good drill bits, drilled it out. Now I'm just making some new threads, so should be able to get the water pump on there 3 hours later. But I'm just glad I didn't break an easy out in there, because if you break off one of these hardened steel extractors, I mean, you can't drill through them. You have to get a real good drill bit. I'm pretty sure they make a drill bit to drill through it, but it's hard, so do it the right way the first time and have a good outcome. But I'm gonna clean these other holes out, see how they got rust up in there. I'm gonna run that's the same thread tap. I'm gonna run it through there and clean all of them out, spray them down with some PB Blaster and make sure the bolts go back in there easy before I put the water pump on. So it's starting to look good, so just bear with me and I'll have that new shiny water pump on there. Alright, so I got the block all cleaned off, ran the tap through the other holes, and got all that rust out of there. So get ready to slap it on. This tap was a 3/8 NC16. I don't know if you can see that. And here's the bolt. And I used, first I drilled it out to 1/4, then I drilled it out with a 2164 bit, and then I was able to run this tap in there. We are good to go. And I had to use this long reach tap holder. This thing is pretty cool. I've had it for a while. You can get in tight spots where you can't get in there with the tap with the handle that goes on it. You can put a wrench on it. So that thing really worked out good. So now the screw. Screws right in there, nice and easy. So, alright, I'm gonna throw this sucker on there. Alright, so the water pump is on. I found some belts in my belt collection that actually fits. This one's just a little bit too wide and it's kind of rubbing the other belt, but I think once it goes around a couple times it'll rub off. It's a brand new belt, don't know what it came off of, but as you can see I got millions of belts. So I'm gonna tighten the power steering belt up. The bottom radiator hose is full of rusty crud, so I think I'm gonna take it off and flush it out. It's got all kind of mud and rusty water in there and antifreeze. So I might even run the water hose down through the radiator, and which I couldn't really see. Can't really see that much. It looks clean. What I see, it's kind of hard to see in there. But it's just all that sediment that's at the bottom of the radiator and then that hose. Because when I took the hose off, it had all that rusty water you see down there come out, along with the fresh antifreeze I put in there. So before I hook this up, I'm gonna take that hose off. I'm gonna check it. It's still soft. It was just rusted to the other water pump, which I said is right here. And that's original water pump. It's got the GM part number on it. So that thing, I don't think has never been off. You can see how that was rusty. I bet you that's the original water pump. This van is showing 84,000 miles, I believe. So anyway, we got belts, we got the water pump, gotta flush out the hose, power steering belt tighten up. I'm gonna check it, make sure it ain't rotted, but it didn't look rotted when I looked at it. Put the fan shroud back on, the fan, top radiator hose, and get some antifreeze in this thing. Fire it up. Make sure we don't have any other leaks. All the other freeze plugs look good. So hopefully we got the coolant leak fixed, and we can be able to source out the fuel leaks, and I mean not fuel leaks, but fueling system. See if we can get the original tanks to work, one of them anyway, and be able to dry this thing without having to use that little gas bottle. It sucks down gas. So, but if we have to, we'll put a bigger gas tank somewhere and run it, just see how the transmission shifts and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on putting the rest of this stuff back on, and we'll try and get this thing to run on its own fuel system. Well, I got some bad news about the van. After I got it all back together, filled it up with coolant and water, running it, still had a leak, and I'll show you right where it's coming from. I would have never guessed it, which I didn't see it. Let's see if we get up under here. It's not good. Give me a second. We'll get lights going here. So it has a crack block. You can see the crack plain as day. So with it sitting with water in it, that's what happens. It rusted out the freeze plugs, and then it cracked the block on the driver's side. So it's been sitting here just dripping coolant back out. So needless to say, it's gonna need a motor. I don't know if JB will fix that. A magnet steel. But put a new water pump on it and everything, new freeze plugs, and found that out. I don't know if it's cracked on that side. I can't. Let's see if I can get over there. I don't see anything on this side here. I know one of my exhaust flanges is leaking. I'm gonna have to loosen the pipe up, but straighten it. But who cares now, because it's got a cracked block right there. This thing just set up and froze up, so I have to either move to plan B, which is put a motor in it, or find someone that wants to buy it as a project, because I really don't have the time and patience to put a motor in it. I like to get the thing back on the road, but just getting the transmission out was a job. Just think about getting the motor out. You got to pull the whole front end off this thing, and it comes out through the front, or you can take the seat out, which I've done back in the past a long time ago. And I brought a motor out through the door one time, but it's more of a pain to do it that way. I think I did that on a Dodge. I didn't do it on a Chevy, but I hate to say it, so this is going to be a back burner job here. It's going to have to sit for a while, so I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. If one of y'all out there interested in it, I mean, I would sell it. So you can hit me up on my email at rpmauto780@yahoo.com if you're interested in it, and come up with a price on it. I know what I got in it. I know what I just put in it. I just put new brake lines and master cylinder, water pump, of course freeze plugs, and battery. So I hate that. I wonder if we can put some magnet steel on there. I don't know, but that's gonna be it on the van right now. Like I said, I'm just gonna probably put it outside and let me do some thinking on it. I know there's an engineette. I don't know if it's good. It's actually in a boat. But the boat's been sitting. They claim it's been winterized, but buying a boat, then got to take the motor out of it and hope it's good, and then take the motor out of this and do all that. That's a lot of work. Unless I can find another 350 sitting on the ground somewhere. But anyway, that's gonna be it on the van. We're just gonna put her outside and see what we can come up with. Like I said, if y'all interested in it, one of y'all, you can hit me up. I'll put my email address in the description. And like I said, you can own this jewel. Unless I change my mind, I just actually keep it, which I really would like to keep it and get it on the road. I didn't even get the chance to even get the refrigerator going. So, but anyway, that's gonna be it on the Chevy 20. And like, share, subscribe, leave some comments, thumbs up. Check out the Instagram page, RPM Auto 4, and of course Facebook page, RPM Auto Motor. I'll be uploading stuff on there sometimes on those two. And alright, well, thanks for watching again. On that side. And the motor runs so quiet, no knocks, and it's not even water getting in the oil. Oh, it's fuzzy. Climb up a little bit. Nice over here. Man, that motor runs so quiet. Well, the water pump working, look at that. Got more water put in. Water pump circulating pretty good. I put some more water in it, that's why I'm leaving my dog. Looks like we got a radiator hose leaking on top of the radiator hose needs to be tightened up. And I guess I didn't tighten it up with that. Sound like the compressor kicked in. Yeah, compressor kicked in. I replaced the oil pressure sensor also. So I filled it back up with some water. Let's crank it up. I'm gonna put the radiator cap on there. Let's see what it leaked, which I know it was leaking. What did I do with the creeper? Oh, it's over there. It don't hurt to, I mean, the damage is done, so it don't hurt to mess around with it anyway. Maybe there's so much rust in that crack. See it from here, it's dripping. It's funny that crack can fill this stuff up. It's not even running hot. Maybe block sealers? Still low. It's not blowing out white smoke like it's got a cracked head or anything. Fill it all the way up and see what happens. That water pump thermostat working good. Is the block swelling up and the crack is sealing? That could be it. Ooh, it's getting exhausting in here. It's not even running hot. I gotta open the door up. transmission goes right in gear and everything. Like I say, it's not even running hot. It's not even leaking anymore. So I think that the crack is sealing itself up once the block heats up. See if we see anything dripping. We almost ran over the light. So like that, I don't see anything dripping. I could put some block seal in it. What you guys think? Block seal them? I bet you when it cools off it leaks. See, it's now getting up to temp. Probably run out of gas pretty soon. Wow, she's full. Look at that. That is amazing. And it's not even leaking. I know I got a leak up here on the radiator hose. I can put a pressure tester on that. I mean, the temperature here is not even all the way in normal yet. I'm gonna shut her down. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to do a recap of what was going on right quick. I just wanted to see how bad it was leaking, but as you see, it dripped and then it like stopped. So I guess the block is sealing up as it heat up. Because when it was cold, it really dripped the water out, cooling out. So, some of this exhaust fumes going on in here. So that was just a quick recap of the cracked block. So, still, it's got a problem that we know about. And still, I might sell it, I might fix it, not sure. But anyway, I'll holler at y'all later.